and welcome to the very first episode of the brand new series here on the Wisdom Transmissions YouTube channel, the Akashic Intelligence Report. So, of course, in previous incarnations, this has been known as the Earth Intelligence Report or the Infinite Intelligence Report. Now it's moved into the Akashic Intelligence Report. And why is that? It's because I'm going to be tuning into the Akashic Records, doing what's known as Akashic scribing, to talk about a certain topic or subject. So what you're going to see is when I go over here to the whiteboard, you're going to see me just draw out a simple square like this, and then just basically scribble in the square, but it's not actually scribbling, it's scribing. I've been doing this now for quite a few years, and I basically referred to it as a type of ideogram. But I don't think that was really the best way to put it because not a lot of people know what an ideogram is. So I've basically referred to it now as Akashic scribing. And every week I'm going to be doing an Akashic Intelligence Report talking about certain subjects. And of course, you'll have the opportunity to suggest particular topics and subjects, because this week I'm just talking about one particular topic. But as we go throughout the future episodes, you'll be able to also add your own particular perspective on what you want me to talk about. So maybe we'll have some opinion polls or anything of that nature, or suggestion from comments, anything of that nature, even through the weekly live webcast too. We could find some interesting topics that you want me to discuss for future episodes of the Akashic Intelligence Report. So why don't we go ahead and get started. This week, to debut the very first episode of the Akashic Intelligence Report, I'm going to be talking about the Disclosure Initiative. So that is going to be the topic. And as I go into the Akashic Records, all I'm really doing is I'm pulling out a type of etheric folder. That's really what the drawing with the square and the scribbling that you'll see me do is involving. I'm basically pulling up an energetic or an etheric folder and looking into this and say, okay, interesting. And then I'm doing my best to comprehend that and to share it here with the audience. So we're going to be looking into the Disclosure Initiative about what's been happening on the planet. Disclosure, again, is in many different ways, many different subjects altogether. It's not just extraterrestrial. It's disclosure in general. So I'm going to kind of look right now into the Western world about disclosure and doing what I can to best translate what I'm receiving relating to the Western world state of disclosure. So I'll be one moment here. Okay, massive reveal. I feel like there are vaults that are just being broken open, right? So if you have a vault here, just feels like the safe is just being cracked open. And it's kind of like reminding me of Pandora's box. It's like someone just took a gigantic, powerful sledgehammer and just started smashing this wide open. And we're just seeing all of this fly out, okay? I feel like there's something involving Texas, okay? There's a situation involving Texas that I feel will be a very big part of a disclosure initiative taking place in the United States. Something seems like a ground zero, okay? A ground zero here relating to Texas. Maybe it's involving some political movements. Maybe it's involving something pertaining to ETs. Maybe it's involving something pertaining to a great deal of money. Maybe money that has gone into Texas or come out of Texas. But I feel Texas has a bullseye on it. Feels like there's a big ground zero that's going to be revolving around Texas here very soon. So maybe we need to keep our eyes on Texas. And I think it may have something to do with money. I think it may have something to do with political campaigns. Okay. But there's something about Texas, like I said, that is, maybe they're going through an embezzlement or something of that nature, but something in regards to the Western world. Focus on Texas, right? That's really what I'm getting here. Let me see if I can tap a little bit more into what may be going on in Texas. Okay, if I'm looking at that with Texas. Scandals, yeah, maybe there's some politicians in Texas that are basically on the way out. Maybe they're going to be held accountable for something, but I'm feeling scandals, right? It's almost like looking at a scorpion, right? You got the scorpion pincers, you got the deadly tail right here, not very well drawn, but there we go. Something that's like I'm seeing the scorpion climbing out of the dirt and coming into the surface. It's like we're seeing a scorpion coming in. It's not a pleasant sight, but there's something with Texas pertaining to scandals. A big disclosure about to happen pertaining to Texas. Okay, so that's one particular aspect I'm getting, just relating to the Western world. Yeah, this is gonna work. Just in regards to the Western world pertaining to disclosure in this way. Okay, so now that I've kind of taken a look at that, I'm going to see if there's anything else pertaining to the West regarding disclosure. Okay, any other things that may be coming up here from what I can detect just in the Western world. It feels like they're going to be spilling the beans a little bit more about reverse engineered ET tech, okay? Or something in regards to technology, like I said, that they may have connections with. Here's like a flying saucer flying out of the oceans. So it feels like there's going to be maybe some admittance, or at least maybe people have to kind of read in between the lines of what they may be talking about certain types of disclosure, and realizing that we have that type of technology already. So my feeling is there's going to be some black projects that are going to come into the light. So black projects heavily concealed, now coming into light. So they're coming out into the open here, right? I'm taking a look more at the black projects of the flying saucers. Let's see if I can get another file on this here. There are some representatives that are already on television that are extraterrestrial. There are spokespeople, and I think they may actually be like a disclosure staff. I'm not too sure if they're actually involving themselves with the Senate right now or something, but there are people right now on TV that are extraterrestrial. There's human ETs on TV right now. I'm getting the feeling some are male here. I'm getting some male human ETs that have already been on television. They have extraterrestrial connections. It's like we're looking at these people who have, it's kind of like you see the people that have just like a database. They're like a living database of knowledge. Like, how are they this smart? How are they this intelligent? How are they able to pull up this kind of data? I mean, some of them are human, but there's just kind of that feeling, and that's the kind of the hint that I can give you, is they're not going to obviously come out and reveal themselves as such. But especially a lot of the people, not really a lot, but quite a few of the people behind the disclosure movements are human ETs. Okay? So we have, a lot of them are male. The ones I'm seeing are male. They look a lot like us. I'm seeing kind of like Caucasian, Chinese, right? Even like the different ethnicities as well, too. They are that, right? There's also ones that are working together, kind of in the higher places, working together with some of these staff members, saying exactly what they can and can't share. But they also have agents here on the ground that are human extraterrestrial. Okay, some of them may also be Venusian. Okay, some other ones like maybe from Altair, Antares, okay, Capella, Sirius. Okay, these are just a few that I'm naming, that I'm receiving, but there's like a whole contingency of them. Some of them are on TV, some of them are behind the scenes. But if you really kind of get a look at them, if you kind of look at their personality, you'll see that there's something kind of otherworldly about them, right? Some people may say, well, is Elon Musk one of them? No. He may have some friends in high places, but he's very human. But there's other ones. Like I said, it may just be ones that are working in government. There may be ones that are working with these disclosure initiatives, working with these particular organizations or agencies. Some of them are indeed extraterrestrial. Okay, so that's quite a surprise there. But there's a big initiative to talk more about extraterrestrial spacecraft coming out of oceans. There may also be other ones of them talking about ones coming out of volcanoes at the same time. There may also be other ones that maybe they admit that there's cloaking, or again, just disappearing. We've seen quite a bit of those. But it feels like there's more of an initiative to talk more about black projects that are now being declassified. They're not taking it all away. They're basically just kind of giving us the baby food to process, right? A lot of people think that, they're going to reveal ETs to the point where it's going to be, leading to a first contact. And I'd have to say no. But they're basically spoon feeding the people, right? Here's the spoon, and they're kind of spoon feeding us baby food from what I'm getting. And I'm just seeing if there's anything else that may be coming up here. I'm getting something pertaining to this Kash Patel. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. He seems to have a lot of connections with off-worlders, whether he's aware of it or not. The new director for the FBI, I believe it is, right? Something with him. He keeps flashing in my awareness. Something with him. He has connections to ETs, right? There's quite a bit there with him. Whether he's aware of it or not, I don't know. But when I look at him, he's got some friends. I don't know if it's friends or colleagues, but they basically have ET connections. Either they're ET themselves or they have some serious extraterrestrial connections. With Kash himself, I don't feel he is one of these, right? But connected to one of these, or to many of them, most definitely, okay? So there's something there pertaining to Kash Patel, okay? There's maybe a reason why Trump has recommended him so much, maybe because there's connections. Trump is very much aware of many human ETs. He's very much aware of that. Whether he'll admit it, I doubt it, but he's very aware, right? He kind of plays dumb with it, but no, he has had connections with human ETs for quite some time, even back in his first campaign, his first term. All right, so I'm looking at that. Let's move on. Okay, so moving on, let's take a look at the East, okay? We're going to take a look at the disclosure initiative happening in the Eastern world. See what may be going on here as I tune in. Okay, there is certainly a joint task force, and I'll just refer to it as JTS. There's a joint task force that basically has a lot of European roots, may also have some connections with maybe China as well too, but there's kind of like a joint task force that are both human and non-human that are working together to really clean out a lot of the installations in the Eastern world. Some are in Russia. Some also feel like, again, some other European countries. Bolivia feels like one. Okay, there might be something also in Poland, Germany, Sweden. Like hidden, top secret operations taking place, Switzerland also. There's a massive cleaning up going on. It's so funny. All the things we see on TV that we're giving so much legitimacy to just aren't even real. It's all just staged garbage, really. There's so much cleanup going on. This is why it feels like there's valid news one day, the next day it comes, and then there's something that completely invalidates that. There's so much change happening. It's like someone's just taking a big sponge and just scrubbing and pulling out all of this corrupt debris from the surface of the earth, right? There's so much stuff that's being pulled out here. I've talked about DUMBs, DUMBs, right? Not talking about politicians, but the DUMBs are basically being cleaned out, and the countries I have here on the board represent a lot of those installations. They're basically just bringing in a lot of different joint task forces. They're penetrating. They may sometimes utilize very small nuclear devices to try and get into the deep underground military bases. That's maybe why we hear some people getting shaken up by earthquakes. A lot of these are mini nuclear detonations that are actually being dropped. It feels like maybe they're drilling a hole, or they're creating a hole to drop this particular nuke down, like a micro nuke, I guess you'd say, or a mini nuke. and blasting a hole into these installations. And then there's again a joint task force, humans and non-humans alike, going in and just cleaning out the installations, because a lot of these cabals are planning to create more bioweapons. They're planning to create more diseases, illnesses. They have laboratories that are very, very horrifying, like developing hybrid soldiers as well too, augmented soldiers. It kind of looks like what we see with my lab, or MK Ultra look like a joke compared to what a lot of these other things that they're planning to do. There is a massive cleanup happening in the East right now. So it's kind of a disclosure, but it's not, of course, going to be publicly unveiled. It feels like there are, I would say, well over a dozen deep underground military bases that have already been compromised, that have already been blasted open, and they've basically cleaned out the experiments that are going on there. It feels like they're trying to lay siege to these installations, finding out what they're doing. There is a big plan for a lot of these cabal members to go underground and live there for a long time. Once they have been found out, they would go underground and they would try to live the rest of their days underground, while many other associates would try to utilize nuclear weapons or other particular forms of deadly weaponry, or biotoxic weaponry as well too, on the surface, wiping out the majority of the human race so that they would be safe in these installations, right? So, and a lot of what they were going to use to cause these biotoxic bombardments are actually found inside these installations. So they were basically trying to create a type of Armageddon, or a type of apocalypse, relating to all the buried caches contained within their stores in these installations. That was going to be their plan, and they were planning to launch this worldwide, specifically around in the Eastern world, maybe around Europe or Asia, and then eventually transiting it to the West. Okay, so like I said, this is kind of a hidden disclosure, but that is precisely what they were thinking, right? Is basically trying to create more illnesses, more biotoxins, maybe nuclear detonation, more massive attempts to poison food, and just basically create a massive worldwide genocide, while they would hide underneath in these installations that contain such a great abundance of food stores, food caches, right? So they would be able to live there for several generations, while the Earth basically cleaned itself up after maybe 80 to 90% of the population is destroyed. Then they would come back up upon the surface again and try to rule there. That was their plan, right? I'm sure we've had some documentaries talking about this with certain forms of projects and operations that they were planning. The good news is that's not going to see the light of day, but this is exactly why there have been, I don't even know how many DUMBs are there. There could be many dozens of them at least, all throughout different forms of countries. It feels like every major country has at least one or two deep underground military bases within itself, at least. Could even be more than that. But this is, again, the plan, particularly in the East. I feel like they are doing some work in the West, but it's not as abundant as I feel is happening in the East, pertaining to these deep underground military bases. Okay, so this disclosure initiative is also involving extraterrestrials and human beings here on the Earth forming together as task forces, going in and looking for certain criteria, I guess you could say, for the bases to find out a lot of these bioweapons that were looking to be manufactured. They were just planning to do something completely horrible to this planet, like absolutely horrible. And like I said, wipe out 80 to 90% of the population. That was certainly their plan, and it looks like a lot of their plans are being foiled right now, which is the good news. This plan will not see the light of day, but it certainly was a plan altogether. Let's take a look at one more thing, if there's anything else that's coming about for the East, for Disclosure Initiative. Okay, I'm getting the feeling of Australia. Maybe there's feelings of Australia going through a cleanup as well too. It feels like their political power is about to shift. I feel like there's going to be a really big smearing campaign that's going to be coming for the people of Australia relating to a lot of their political leaders. I feel like political upheaval is about to hit Australia, okay? And again, it kind of feels like there's a pressure pot here that's just about to boil over, right? And it looks like the people of Australia are about to move into a very big transformation of liberation from their political leaders. I feel like there's a gigantic exposure that's about to happen that is going to shake up the Australian political landscape, where the leaders are exposed to the point where they cannot recover from this, and there may be a new election or a revolution that's taking place that's going to replace the current political regime of Australia. Australia is about to have a very big expose, so to speak, that is going to come about that will shift the political landscape and moving them in the right direction as well too. So Australia is coming up with that. I also feel there's a lot of ET activity in Australia, that's obvious, but what's really coming forward more on the forefront here is the idea of a political shakeup, right? Something with Australia is about to burst wide open. So we'll have to look into that. So everybody, that is what I have to share for today for the Akashic Intelligence Report. If you liked everything that you heard here, feel free to leave your comments below. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and check out our second channel, the Wisdom Transmissions music channel. There's a lot of exciting music videos and spiritual teachings that will be coming there. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next episode. Take care, everybody. Blessings to you all. Namaskar. Be safe. Be well.
Let my mind expand to the higher states. My mortality is no longer at stake. Let me hear the wisdom transmissions. The wisdom transmission.